When I subtract that, I get negative 1,680. So is that a positive number? So is that greater than 0? No, it is not. So since it is not, we have no real solution, or in other words, to answer this problem, no, we cannot have that weekly revenue. So again, if it had asked like what week would it be in that we would have that weekly revenue, we would have used the entire quadratic formula. But just if it's asking could it happen, yes or no, we can use kind of a cheat code and just use the discriminant. See if it's positive, the answer would be yeah, we could have that weekly revenue. But since it's negative, no, we cannot. Next, we have a diver. So feel free to pause if you want to write this all down, or you need to write this all down, so feel free to pause if I talk too fast. We have a diver who dives from a 10-meter springboard. The equation f of t equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 4t plus 10 models her height above the pool at time t in seconds. At what time does she hit the water? So I want to dissect this just a little bit. Remember that this number right here at the end tells you her starting height. So she is 10 meters off the pool when she starts. This negative 4.9 is going to be what we're going to use for our gravity. So this 10 right here tells us that she starts at 10 meters high. So what we want to know though is what time does she hit the water? Well, if we look at this like a parabola, and here we have our water, and here we have our diving board, and here we have our little diver who's going to go splash, 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 splash. So when she hits the water, that is actually our x-intercept. And we know that quadratic formula helps us find our x-intercepts, or zeros, or solutions, or roots. So we need to find our x-intercepts, and we can do that by using the quadratic formula. In this case, our a is negative 4.9, b is 4, and c is 10. So we do x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Alright, now we start calculating. So 4 times 4 is 16. So I have negative 4 plus or minus the square root, 16. And now I have two negatives. So remember, when we count our negatives, if we have an even number, we would be adding. 4 times 4.9, or negative 4 times 4.9, negative 4 times negative 4.9 times 10 is going to be 196. And 2 times negative 4.9 is going to be negative 9.8. So simplifying more, that is going to be 212 divided by negative 9.8. So we simplify this, split them up, negative 4 plus the square root of 212 divided by negative 9.8, and negative 4 minus the square root of 212 divided by negative 9.8. Okay, I didn't grab a calculator to bring home to show you, but when you put this in your calculator, you need to do, let me show you off to the side, you need to separate the numerator and the denominator, so do negative 4 plus square root of 212, then hit enter, and then hit divided by negative 9.8, and make sure you use the negative key here, not minus. So when you type that in to your calculator on this one, I believe you will get negative 1.08 seconds. So is this a time that we are going to be able to utilize, that she's hitting the water at negative something seconds? Probably not, so let's check the other one and see if it gives us something more realistic. So negative 4 minus square root of 212, enter, then divided by negative 9.8, and this one should give us 1.89 if we round correctly seconds. So which time is it that we can use? Well, obviously this one, since it's positive. So at what time does she hit the water? 1.89 seconds. Okay, these next ones are going to require a little bit of creative thinking. So on this one, I need to write a quadratic equation in standard form. So remember that would be ax squared plus bx plus c for these two solutions. Okay, so we can also remember that the quadratic formula is x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So here are some things that I know. I know that whatever's in front of the plus minus is going to be my opposite b. So I need, from this equation, I need an a, I need a b, and I need a c, correct? I know that in front of here, that is opposite b. So I know that my b, oops, that's the wrong line, b is the opposite of negative 7. So what's the opposite of negative 7? Well, it's 7. So my b equals 7. Don't know why I put it over there. I already know that. Now I also know that in the denominator is 2a, correct? So I know that 2a equals 4. So if I divide both sides by 2, I know that a equals 2. So look, there's 2 of my 3 already. Now I have used this negative 7, the opposite of that is my b. I've used the denominator of 4 divided by 2, always 2 because that's the denominator, to get my a, but I still need to find c. So somehow I still need to use that square root of 33. Well, that square root of 33 underneath the radical means it's the discriminant. So I know that 33 is going to be b squared minus 4ac, my discriminant, correct? So I can just replace what I know, and then I'll only have c left, and I can solve. So 33 equals, remember the opposite of this is your b. We determined it was 7. So 7 squared minus 4 times a. Remember the denominator is 2 times a. So 2 times what gives me 4? 2. And then c. So now we just solve for c. 33 equals 49 minus 4 times 2 is 8c. And then we need to get c by itself, so we subtract our 49. So I have negative 16 equals negative 8c, divide by my coefficient, and 2 equals c. So c is also 2. So now my quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c. A I found out was 2, so it's going to be 2x squared. B I found out was 7, so it's going to be 7x. And c I found out was 2. So just using what you have to pick it apart. All right, next and last one, solve this equation. So notice we have these bars, and if you remember, those bars are absolute value. And I hope you also remember that absolute value makes it positive. So if you have absolute value, you must set it equal to the negative and the positive of your answer. So I have to split this. It's going to be 4 minus 2x squared equals 4, because that's the positive. Then I also need to do the negative. Now on the negative, what was inside the bars does not change at all. Inside the bars does not change. What does change is my answer. My answer has to be -4. Because remember, when you put something inside the bars, it makes it positive. So it would be a positive no matter what, but I don't know if what was in here was 4, because it would have just stayed 4, or if it was -4 and the bars made it +4. So I have to use both options. And then now we just solve. Subtract 4. I'm going to solve using my square root method because there is no x term. Remember, when there's no x term, you can use the square root method. Divide by -2, so x squared is 0. And I take the square root of both sides, so x is 0 on this side. Subtract 4 over here, you get -2x squared equals -8. Divide by -2, x squared equals 4. Take the square root, and x equals, remember when we put in the square root, we have to write the positive and the negative. So I actually end up with 3 answers to this one, 0, 2, and -2. Good luck on your assignment on Math Excel. Remember to email me or text me if you have questions. You can also go next door to see Mrs. Miller or find Mr. Kirshner. He is across the hall from Miss Allen.